Okay, let's take a look at what's going to change in Definitely 0.6.7 patch. This is basically a big overhaul of the IK system. It fundamentally does a lot that's different than the way it was done before. And you're going to have to make some changes in your subject and weapons prefabs to line up with the new system. It's not really that difficult to do, but you're going to get really weird results until you do correct these values. So briefly, also getting updated is the inspectors with these nice fold out tabs, and it organizes the information a lot better, makes it easier for you to visually understand and just see what you're actually working on instead of just seeing everything at the same time. It also remembers, if I come down here, it remembers what you have expanded between characters. So previously this was difficult to do. Now that this update is going to correct a lot of quality of life issues that we were having in the previous version. So the fundamental thing that's going to change on the subject level is the thumb direction and the palm direction. Every subject definitely needs to know which direction those two things are pointing in order to put the weapons in the hand properly. Now the previous arrangement was you would say that the weapon is going to be this far out in front of the character, and then the hands, Mechanim would just say, let's grab the targets and then put the hands on them, and that's it. But now it actually says, okay, well, what hand do you want the weapon in? How far do you want it to step away from the bone? And then where do you want the hand to try to go in space? So it's very different workflow there. Fundamentally, you can use a lot of the same numbers, but it's going to break what you're currently doing. So thumb direction and palm direction. Every rig is going to be using, well, not every rig, but lots of rigs use different axis orientations on their bones. For instance, going down the arm is usually the x-axis, but sometimes it's not. And sometimes the thumb is pointing on the z-axis, and then sometimes the z-axis is going somewhere completely different on a different rig. So it needs you to specify where those two things are. To do that, you can just click this and go to the bone, and then you can see here that the thumb is pointing on negative z, and then the palm is pointing on positive y. So if you go back up to Eleanor and check the palm direction and the thumb direction, those values are correct. So that guarantees that the weapon will be placed in the hand correctly. The next thing is ensuring that the hand is pointing in the correct direction. Now, to do that, you'll just hit play with a weapon and then look at where it's pointing. This is already set up correctly. The correct values were 90 and negative 90 for this character. Now, if I change those to 0, it does not point the correct direction. You may see this happen, and now you know why. So if I did 90 here, it's going the wrong way. Basically, you just tweak these. It's usually 90-degree intervals. It's twisted the wrong way. Just change it to 90. Adjust these until this points in the correct direction. Now when you're done, you just take it back to the prefab and apply it. That's all there is to it. So those are the three things that you need to update on your subjects: thumb direction, palm direction, and the dominant hand additional rotation. It will not look right until you do that. So do that for every prefab subject that you have that handles weapons. There's other additional features in here. You can now, if you're using an advanced animator controller that you've set up, you can now adjust the IK layers, IDs, for which hand is on which layer. This is very convenient if, well, you already know why you would want to do this if you were using a very advanced setup in Animator. So I'll just not explain. You can also flip the X. So if you go to the hand bone, in this case the X is pointing with the arm direction, but in some cases it's pointing the opposite direction. So you can flip that there as well. Character scale, I believe that was in the last version. Additional rotations, the weapon in the hand offset, and non-dominant adjustments as well. So on the weapon level, it's more similar. Now you can specify the weapon resting position offset. That means where the character is going to try to put its hand in space in front of its face or whatever. So this is the same as the before. Basically, it's the same values, but it's handling it differently on the back end. Additional rotations, and then now you can adjust elbow goals. So previously the elbows might be doing some really weird stuff and you couldn't do anything about it because the IK goals would just take advantage of where it wanted to go, and then you could never adjust how you wanted the elbows to handle themselves. Well, now you can adjust that. So if I go to, let's say, this pistol, I've got the goals turned on, and you can see with these gizmos where it's trying to put the elbows. Now, some cases this just cannot work because the weapon might be too close to the shoulder, and the hand and the elbow IK, just the mechanism can't solve that sometimes. So you're kind of stuck in some cases, but 90% of the time this is going to be just fine. So if I go to this weapon and here, I can adjust these values. So if I wanted this elbow to start, come down a little bit closer to the hip, I would just take the Y and bring it down. And that's all there is to it. If I wanted it to be stupid, I would do that. And it can look as stupid or as cool as you want. It depends on how you set it up. So now you have those options. The biggest issue generally was the left arm sticking in through the character and it looks stupid. So now you can adjust the left arm to come up and go around the shape of the character. And you can do this on a weapon level. You cannot adjust this with any additional offsets on the subject level, which may provide a little less flexibility than I would like, but this is where we're at for now. So you can work with these values and then provide feedback, and then we'll see what we can do to make it better if necessary. So that's a new feature with the IK as well. That's about all there is with the IK. You are required to make those additional fixes on the subjects. The rest is pretty much in the release notes and not mandatory to fix. So that's about all there is to it. Hope it works out. If you have any problems, please just post on the forums or get in touch with me on Jabber, and we'll see what we can do to patch in some fixes for you. Thanks.